So the big question that I'm trying to answer for myself in this video series, can I live off of, well, can my husband and I live off of one paycheck? His is, can I retire? So I do plan on retiring before him, and so for that reason I want to make sure that we can definitely live off of just his paycheck for a few years before he retires. And he hasn't decided what age he wants to retire at. There's a whole lot of factors, a whole lot of options we have, and sometimes having a lot of options, well, not harder, but just not as simple as, just having a couple options. So anyway, every month I'm going to attempt to check in with you about how I did living off of just his paycheck. And just so you know, we're both teachers. If you're new to the channel, my husband is my public school teacher, sugar daddy, and I teach toddlers. I do own my own childcare Montessori toddler community. But even though I'm the owner, I still make quite a bit less than he does. So the last time I gave you an update was January, and thanks to everybody who watched it. I'm really enjoying this series. It's holding me accountable as I check in with you, and the numbers show that you're enjoying it as well, so thank you. So since I started keeping track of this myself, which was a year or so before I started this channel, I had different rules, and I've been tweaking my rules for how I'll calculate the amount that we didn't spend. So at first I was counting everything I saved, but then I thought, well, that doesn't really make any sense because some of my savings account, like our auto savings account, our house maintenance savings account, our health savings account, are going to be spent for sure eventually. So counting those as unspent income didn't really seem accurate or fair because that money will be spent for sure eventually. So I'm not counting those savings. So basically what I'm counting is savings that I won't be doing once I retire. So that would be extra investing, because eventually you switch from investing to spending what you invested. So that'll happen. Maybe not when I retire, but for sure when my husband retires. And that's my own investment accounts for retirement, and then any extra investing we're doing into our non-tax advantage brokerage account. Also our Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying fund account, which basically is for vacations or any kind of local excursions or events we want to go to that we can't put into our budget. Now we do have a pretty good flexible spending account, so it'd have to be something real expensive, out of this world tickets to something that we would have to tap into this fund. So basically the Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying fund is for vacation, either short vacations yearly, or a few times a year. So we just depleted that fund, for example, going to the beach for spring break, and so we'll start saving into that again. So that we're counting because hopefully when we retire, like our whole life is just a vacation, we'll be traveling a lot, and that'll be worked into our regular budget. We'll see. We haven't really decided what we're doing. I kind of want to be nomads. My husband's not quite as excited about that, but anyway. And so that short-term account, and also our long-term account, which is first to buy my husband a boat upgrade. It's just a little fishing boat, but he wants one with a cover. And the reason I get behind having one with a cover is he does want to take our granddaughter fishing, like as soon as she's old enough to go fishing. That'll be their special time, and it just rains a lot where I live, so having a little cover that she could get out of when she wants to would be nice. And then after we save for that, we're saving for an Asia trip, either probably to Thailand or Bali. I want to go there sooner rather than later. It's on the bucket list. Well, it's not so hard for me to sit for long periods on an airplane. And then any extra money that we put towards debt, so our car loan is almost paid off. I was thinking of not paying it off as early because once you pay off the loan, then it takes a hit to your credit score. But I was thinking we might be needing to care about a credit score, which basically I don't really in general, but I don't think we're going to. And so that will be paid off. So any extra towards the car loan, and then any extra towards our HELOC, which was what we took out to build the school that I own as an addition to our property, which also is kind of an investment. When I close the school, it'll make a good like mother-in-law unit, or we could even rent it out because it has its own laundry and everything. Okay, so here we go with the numbers. So like I said, January was my last one. You can check out my playlist, but I'm going to do February and March just real quick, category by category, and then the total that I did not spend of my income, and then the total percentage of my income that is. All right. So in February, I put $509 extra towards our HELOC loan. And in March, I put $604.12 towards our HELOC loan. In February, I put $808 extra towards our car loan. And in March, I put $0 extra towards our car loan. And you'll notice in February, my amounts are greater, and that's because my husband's paycheck was bigger, which we can count on several times a year as he gets paid for overload for having too many middle schoolers squeezed into his classroom. And there's other things like professional development that he'll get paid for. And so we can count on that. So eventually I'll have to see like on an annual basis how that affects my ability not to spend as much of my paycheck. But anyway, that's why I was better in February than in March. In February, we saved $400 into our Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying fund, which is our fun money vacation fund. And it was the same in March. I tried to do at least $400 so that I know we can take like a spring break vacation, a little summer vacation, and then maybe a short little winter break, you know, just kind of a local trip. And then in February, I saved $506 into my retirement accounts. And in March, I saved $150 into my retirement accounts. And that's the minimum that I'm committed to saving every month. But maybe where things are going, I'll be increasing that, I don't know. And then our other investing into our brokerage account, where we basically buy individual stocks in that, and we use public for that, is $150, and that'll be what we do every month. We have that auto invested. Okay, in February, we were able to put $1,071 into our boat/Asia fund. And I do that, have that in a brokerage account where I can earn a little more money than just interest. I think it's in a bond fund. And so hopefully that'll get us to that goal sooner, but not as risky, you know, as putting in an index fund or something like that. And then in March, we put $459 into that fund. So again, a little less because my husband's income was less in March than in February. All right, now would be a really good time, if you're still watching, to go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss my future videos on this topic, as well as my budget breakdowns and other videos connected to my dream of retiring early. Okay, so in February, I was able to not spend $3,444 of my paycheck. And it either went to savings that is for fun, that we don't have to spend eventually, and for investing and for extra debt payment. So I'm pretty pleased with that number. And then in March, it was $1,763. Now, some of that was because of my husband's paycheck, but some of it also was we've been helping out some family members and increased our charitable giving just for the month of February a little bit. And I'm not counting charitable giving because it's basically usually just our tithe and then a little like flexible giving. So for example, my husband had a favorite, well, there's lots of favorite students, but a student that is, you know, now out of college even, I think, and her brother is diagnosed with cancer, and so we gave a little bit to his GoFundMe. So we always want to be able to do that sort of thing. So I don't count charitable giving as an extra. It's just part of our budget. That mainly was helping out beyond our monthly charitable giving budget that brought that number down, and the fact that my husband's paycheck was higher in February and not as high in March, but I do expect to do quite a bit better in April because we won't have those extra charitable giving in April. All right, so the percentages of paychecks then is in February, I was able to not spend $76 of my paycheck, and then in March, I was able not to spend 39% of my paycheck. Now, as I get really, so as we get closer to retirement, I'll be looking really closely at the rest of our budget. So as you watch my budget videos, you'll see that a lot of times our flexible spending does not get spent, or there's some categories we're under in. So if that starts happening real consistently, I'll know that I won't have to spend that in retirement. And then I'll also be taking a look at like what expenses are kind of indirectly because I'm working. So things like, you know, eating out more unplanned, spending more on convenience, groceries, that sort of thing, that could change in retirement when I have more time. But that'll, you know, be like the last year leading up into retirement where I start thinking about that. And for now, I have, I think the end of the school year and 2 more years I'm committed to. I promised the last pregnant person that I'll be open long enough for that child to go through my school. All right, thanks for watching, and let me know what you think of my rules, like how I'm deciding what I don't spend, and let me know if you're retired. Please, you know, let me know if you did something similar and how it worked out and what you learned once you actually did retire. All right, remember to go ahead and like and subscribe, and here's a video that YouTube thinks you'll like and a video that I hope you'll like. Thanks for watching and take care.